Hello, everybody, and you can blame me for this one. Sorry for being a bit late. Things
Yeah,
were a bit later than I expected, so you can blame me.
yeah,
Anyway, welcome to Line of Duty finale. We got here. We're at the end of series one.
yeah. So as you already know, she's Charlotte now. The Scottish after the in Charlotte to be more specific. But first things first, Charlotte, before we get into the review and see who's in the chat, we're giving a show thoughts on this episode to the finale, the episode to the first series. But we're giving a show thoughts when you tuned in to it first.
I think it surprised me in some ways with the sort of definitely that ending, and we'll get into it. And I
Yeah,
think the way that Steve went, I think, was very interesting also in this episode.
yeah,
And that's very much set up from the beginning. So
yeah.
I think that was, but then it sort of once you thought about it, it couldn't really end any other way. But it was a surprise how it did ended. Is the way I'd probably say for this.
Yeah. And yeah, and like, and yeah, and like particular to racism. Ela and that show. Okay, I think um my I think Hastings had to get a spatula. I want to
Oh yeah, let's. I
yeah,
love.
we'll
Yeah,
get
we'll get to
into
that.
that in a we'll get into that in a minute. So so to start us off with back at the OG's hangout, known as the Warehouse is Dark, hold it in the recent review. So he's starting off full sort of peril at this point, and because the Walker aren't doing a job, they just decided that they're just only stab him um, right in the stomach,
Oh
basically.
yeah, and I think, like I said, this whole thing with Steve being captured and what happens to him, I think it's a really clever move because he's characterized as, and you even see it in this episode, which in a moment I love from Steve, which is he's cocky, he's brash, he doesn't think about others, he just does what he wants.
Yeah,
And this is the layers being put down to his absolute core.
yeah,
And you can see even the way he reacts a bit when like the thug says, "Oh, we'll do it the way Tommy does it." Oh, I can't remember the exact line, and you can see
yeah,
Steve. It's only a minute you see Steve's face, and Martin acts it, and you just think he's just thinking, "I'm gonna die." Like I'm going to die, and I think up until that point he could be a bit mouthy, but then it all goes. Especially at what happens in a couple of minutes after, which is a scene I love also from Steve.
yeah, yeah, and we do the extras and covering for the odds because I think everybody's over at the after zone and the movie stream, so he'll take the odds whoever showed up in the chat. We went all just here, but we're like she won't be here for a short amount of time because she's on PJ's the off stream. But anyway, back to the review. Um, so, and so the, and so the, and so the next obviously obviously she's it's been eight and shine and the knight in shining armour.
But you
So,
don't know that, which I like. You just hear police, don't you? And you think, oh, Kate's got
yeah,
through, or it's like somebody on Steve's team finally found him.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then, like you said, it's revealed it's Gates.
and yeah, so he, and so, oh, and so he uses the R against the OG and Oxum and down his other skill at loose and then takes out the baton and hits a few with but I take a bit of I take a bit of pleasure when he hits the line with the baton because I did it was the end that he was my head in for them. It's one of the series so he gets the right amount of pleasure I haven't been hit by the baton. I felt that was just fine and then and I'm talking about the character here and not talking about actual
He's
violence.
talking about the fictional creation of Ryan, who it's. And I think that's even the way Lenny plays it. Tony's like, I've been wanting to hit this kid. Like, he's really got on my nerves. He can finally sort of give him a bit of old-fashioned discipline.
Yeah. And so I don't condone violence against children. It's just that particular character just annoyed me. So anyway, after that, he enters the house and he sees and and then he sees Steve on the floor, because he's managed to free himself from the ice and he sees him on the floor and he's basically eyeing to the ask his been and
Yeah.
totally and by this point and he thinks that Gates is going to and he's like, oh, he's
Well,
no.
even the camera,
Yeah,
because I noticed this watching it again
yeah,
yesterday. The
mhm,
camera's from Steve's perspective, it's on the ground. So
yeah,
you don't see Gates's face, which I thought actually thinking about it again is
yeah,
really interesting. And I think
mhm,
that's on purpose because you just see him be like you've seen him hit like the OG, but you still don't know quite what he's gonna
yeah,
do to Steve.
yeah,
And then you just see like him stood there with a crowbar and you
yeah,
look up to him and he even says like very quietly, like you said, the mask is gone. He's
yeah,
completely the most vulnerable you've ever seen, Steve, and he's begging for his life. That's what
yeah,
Steve's doing.
yeah, and yeah, basically, making for his own. And my ask has been removed because he's been killed. And could be been killed. Yeah, okay, you shite up until this point, to be honest.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think it's very clever for think about how Gates and Arnett or Steve have been written. They've constantly been at each other's throats. They've
yeah,
constantly been like back and
mhm,
forward at each other. It's very personal, you can tell with those two. And
yeah.
I think it, it's interesting. Like, because as a watcher, you almost think like, do you think maybe Gates had a moment when he's like, I could shut
Yeah,
this guy up, like this little annoying so and so.
yeah, I'm in actually for a spell at second he was going to attempt to do it because the way the camera was sort of situated in that position, he just think that he was going to attempt. Yeah,
Yeah, and like with the sort of the death of Lavity and
yeah,
some of the other actions, I think the series sort of was telling you at this point. don't assume people are safe in this show. So
yeah,
it's like that's it. I liked that scene before, but watching it again, I think it's really clever on like
yeah,
direction, acting, writing.
yeah, exactly. So and then um, so in the next so in the next scene, you see the rest of the and you see the rest of the was and you see the rest of the was start to investigate this scene and each checks and each check and and each checks and Steve because obviously he's injured and his hands
Just a bit.
basically and his hands basically ashed up at this
That's
point
what it looks
basically
like.
and and so she checks and and as you can kind of tell he's still fit as a girl is in so the so and her and a couple of the officers ask him, Irene, who arrest it who arrest it and as predict he's not going to say anything because he says I'm not saying anything until I will get over the nation or whatever it was. What does he say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then also, has Kate already asked Steve, or is that the next thing she does?
I think that happens just I think that happens in just before
Yeah,
that.
and so then and you see Steve because she
Yeah,
says to him like Gates is a like gone AWOL. Did you have anything to do with this? And Steve is saying no. So that's another interesting thing. Now his allegiance almost, or his sort of feelings on Gates, has done
yeah,
another 360 because of Gates saving him.
yeah, yeah. I hope that's not anything going on in the
No,
chat.
no, no. It's just, we have to have a
Uh,
few more wrenches around these parts. That's all.
I, uh, like some moving on, so like some moving on, so each drives home and as you can tell the panic sort of sets and my family is basically hunting for his family. Maybe basically need to like basically check if you're alright, but it's the only one in the house. But it's this other that the OGE have attacked the family.
Oh, this scene.
Yeah, the family.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
my
the
doggies.
family dog.
So this
Yeah,
scene was not easy. Like we said last week, the scenes with
yeah,
the lad who had Downs, we think. I can't think of the character's name. I will eventually. But this scene, I love dogs. Like Dan will tell you, I love
yeah.
dogs. So it was like this was like oh, like because you could see the dog and what they'd done to it, and it was just like that's quite hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and he has no choice but to put um, the dog out to its mum. As the race, so you can kind of empathize because the dog is bad down. injured in the
It's making
car.
those horrible noises that only dogs make when they're hurt.
Yeah,
So you just go. But like you said, I think it's showing that he's almost systematically, isn't he now,
yeah,
having to either cut off things from his old life or do things he didn't want to do to protect them.
yeah.
And I think the dog's like the first sign of that, and obviously what happens next is a bigger sign of it. But it's like this thing of we said dominoes are falling, and everything around him now is absolutely crumbling.
And uh, um, and yet so he tells these iPhone and she gets home about the OG and about them a winter. He basically and about um and about the attacking them. Okay, basically but she's up to move out of the house without so like and this is really also about the about the rugby basically so it's just
Yeah,
that
we won't repeat what he says because of YouTube, but he's quite blunt about it. He doesn't. But I think, like you said, at first he's like trying to get her out, isn't he? He's like, "Go to your mum's. Where are the girls?" Like he's trying to get her out, and it's because of her loyalty, basically, to him that he has that moment of saying, "I'm gonna have to say the one thing that will get her to leave me." Almost, it's like I said, this systematic cutting of all the things he was fighting for, and all the things we said he was daft to even get involved with Jackie for, because he was always gonna have a chance of losing them. But I think it's him thinking, I'll do it now, so at least I'm controlling this, because otherwise it will get out of my control, and I'd rather it be this way. I think is his logic.
yeah. Um, and so and before we move on, I just want to give a shout out to PJ, maybe who's going to be streaming his Red Devil or series 6 or 7 with you. I can't remember what. But he's going off to get a bite to eat before he streams. So enjoy your food and enjoy your
Have a good stream, mate.
and night working. And oh, so yeah, and so yeah, we got on to the hospital. Yes, Eva's just had these uh, Eva's just had these operation on his on his hand to try and repair it, and to try and repair it. I think and both these things are um uh, um um uh, yeah, he's had been involved and basic um he's basically trying to protect it's because he feels he feels that he owns it for
See,
us.
I don't think it's a no. I think it's a mixture with Steve now. I think he understood that Gates understood there's a line, and he wasn't willing to cross that line. And we know from previous bits with the whole things with Steve's testimony, like storyline, and the fact that he wasn't willing to lie to cover up the shooting that his teammates did. I think, and this is my reading of it, I honestly think Steve has his own code, and I think the fact that Gates wasn't willing to go to murder and to kill him speaks a bit to, I don't like you, but you're not a killer. And very much Kate and Hastings think he's at least involved enough, and like Hastings reads off the charges, and GBH is there, like kidnapping's there.
And so he's Stevens and Sherlock and so he's Stevens and Sherlock to go back to the stage, I can tell like sort of he buried he's because the because she's about to be taken off the case. So like but Eve actually wants up this behind so that they can chat some more about it on you basically and that's here it tells her about the very easy.
Yeah, and he sort of says like it stood out and it was odd.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I think now also you're seeing in this episode the proper little unit of Hastings, Steve, and Kate. Like it's now fully sort of even, and I think also you can see Hastings before this has had a bit of a shady, like a couple of shady moments, a bit of like him using Steve almost and like trying to play Steve, and it's nice to see him actually in this scene show care and sort of show like you're one of mine now, so I'm going to protect you almost.
It kind of still was in the episode in a sense, so they go through and maybe they go through it, but anyway, in the next and then the next Stephen up back at the crime scene and they have a look at the freezer and the traces are is on here still in the freezer and like if the OG had any sort of common sense they would and they would just cleaned up the freezer but it was just on as or at the moment.
Yeah, they sort of say that it was a quick, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They didn't really plan it. It was just sort of, we have to shift this body now.
Yeah.
But even like, it's Buckles, isn't it, who says it? Like, even though you can say this is a bit of sloppiness, it's still not going to get us anywhere.
He's an idiot, but Buckles, let's be honest, he's not the most intelligent officer in the world.
He's sort of just there to be like the kid that everybody picks on almost.
Yeah. Like son, and son, and he's been more hostile towards and because he basically says, he says, he says, uh, um, Phil, men or whoever, or yeah, basically, whatever this. So, because that's him trying to have trying to have a job at her, but he just comes
yeah. Especially if you compare it to what happens when she goes back to the office with Gates's crew. It's very tame his in comparison to what they're like with her. Have a good one, Wen.
So so in the next instance, when she's back at the and Keo office together of basically wages even goes, I thought like this next year I am actually in a boy who his kiss kiss yes I'm trying or and comes over and just
Nige.
but on that and go like that that's absolutely that's absolutely incredible and this but I killed it.
Yeah, but to be fair, this is the same character who hit her on the head with his walking stick last episode.
True, but I think it's a bit more of us somehow if you know with
Well,
it.
it's sort of it's this ultimate sign, isn't it, of you're a rat, we don't like rats. So
Yeah,
he'll like it's and it's sort of it's in. I think Nigel also is an interesting character because he was very background in like the beginning. He was just sort of you just saw him as always just a guy with the stick. He's like just part of the furniture, like he even says when they interview him.
yeah,
And by this episode, especially what he does later on, he's really like got a horrible, nasty streak, and you really see him
yeah,
for what he is actually. That he's a bully. He's just good at hiding it.
yeah, and yeah, so and yeah, and organism, you kind of gets in on can and asks her, so who was your target? Just eats and then he just basically always Tim, I can't discuss my but then he's like, oh, you must be um or you must be or because there's a evidence against him, and she says after and then he says in a sort of snarky way, I won't see him in or sticky music.
Yeah, and like I said, it just shows the different approaches. With Knight, it's the very obvious spit, isn't it? And
Yeah,
then with him, it's more. I'd say he's a bit more sort of sneaky because he asks the questions,
yeah,
and then when he doesn't get the answers, then he goes smart aleck. But first, he's like trying to get stuff out of
yeah,
her, and it's just not working. That's when he starts to become sarcastic. Then.
yeah. Another song name, another song name. Orton was over to uh, um um was over to goes over to goes over to Eve and he says I I wasn't the only thing she took about. Yeah, so basically now Eve's kinda got and he said that that I chat in the other
Well,
because of that comment.
yeah, he's purposely put in Steve's head like
Yeah,
how do you think she got all that information? Like it wasn't just plain nice;
uh,
it was being a bit more than nice to Gates.
yeah,
And it's just like I said, it's like he's trying to cause maximum damage, isn't he? In that moment, he spits on her. He says that to Steve, and it's like he's purposely trying to put as much like cat amongst the pigeons
yeah.
because of Kate revealing herself last episode.
Uh, so so Danny, so any king that goes up to in any this he kind of goes up to and then he says, "Oh, even no, even or Tim, so he goes out after he goes out after them, and he asks him, has him each contact EJ and I think the I think I was given his instructions to meet me at and to meet at and, and meet me at the subway. Actually, we'll get back to that a wee bit later on. So, so I don't kind of cut the and a figure I like so you kind of um you kind of you kill me and and tell you some of her I didn't even know she is not a member you tell and we should still and use them because a dates or being a pillar and kill not because of rules as a shite off and stuff so she kind of takes it in and 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 her hands to in of the big and I and that one like it's the discovered the variety and the irons and has wood so it's all what takes and also kills to actually really put it in and of
Yeah,
the
yeah. She's not winning any Mother of the Year awards, is she?
oh, well, she has a brilliant I don't know. But yeah, with Brian basically with a son is hard and basically like a plastic Rambo type so what a guy basically is so this ass um um so he was asked to origin for forming origin. And then the right of the right, it says, I did, I won't do anything. And he was asked did you get them? He's, and he basically obviously, I'm sure. Basically when it's not, and it's not until it shows them the only that you actually get some straight and on the stance. That's it.
Honest-ish. Honest-ish. It is Ryan.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's like you can tell that also that he's grown up on an estate where you just don't talk to the police. Like you don't give them anything. So he's very much of that mindset. Like he said, until she starts showing, no,
yeah,
we actually have got something against you. Like
yeah,
we actually have got more than just the usual, probably nothing he's been had to deal with. Now it's serious.
yeah. And the and he basically and he basically and he basically tells her that basically he punches the owns the OG to basically use. So
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting how it's. I don't know if they meant to do this, but you can see like his caseworker like feeding him lines almost. Like,
yeah,
oh, you meant this, didn't you, Ryan? Or she's very much feeding him like what to say while he's
yeah,
been interviewed.
yeah. And there's this and there's this thing is of Cabell. I have
I
earlier
can't
on
remember. I
the
didn't pay enough
series
attention to be honest.
yeah.
There's about three of them. There's like a caseworker, there's a social worker, there's something else there. There's like three of them, isn't there?
Oh yeah, that was actually a pretty funny one. time as well. Last year, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, no,
I remember laughing at that.
yeah, no, I do think sometimes, I think 9 out of 10 times the show gets like when it how graphic it can be, and sort of when it's right to use certain language, and you understand why Kate did it. But yeah, it did come across to me. That's one of the few times, especially in the first series, where I thought maybe you couldn't be as in your face about that line.
I think, yeah, but I find it fun. I need to be honest
I
with
knew
you,
you would. I knew you would.
because I've got quite an
Yeah,
arc sense of, I've got quite an arc sense of humour as I've already guessed. So yeah, and yeah, I still like,
yeah.
is,
I
I
was a
mean,
bit late, geek, so you're okay. I was late to the streams.
yeah, yeah, YouTube are basically arseholes, it's the same, all the time of all their channels are followed, well, you'll be able to get any notifications, so sort it out, YouTube, you thanks, anyway, moving on, so the, um, so the, so the interviews was kind of, and you'd have to leave on
Yeah,
Jason,
because what does Ryan say?
uh, back, and yeah, and yeah, because um, I can basically it and and it's good so on it um um and so well, he parties and so he parties and extent of your ends and the rest of the seven panic until and says what the hell were you doing? What the hell were you doing? So and give them I thought give them I thought well okay on you too and so and so and he was to young of the I didn't so I didn't so I didn't end up being interviewed and interviewed and I sang a
Yeah, but
episode
I
of
love
the
Ryan. I love Ryan's line.
yeah yeah I kind of have a big
Yeah,
memory.
and that's when the comedy. I love this show for that type of comedy. It's just like, yep, you've just had that really tense scene. Buckles
But
comes in, he's like, "Can I have a?" And the kid's like, "Can I have a Big Mac?"
but to be fair though, that's what I've given to that's how I said to them. Well, to be honest, if you show his back
Oh
to
yeah,
be enough for one to and forget all that there'd been like I am and I'm really it's like
yeah, and also then you've got the Kate rightfully having a go at Steve, saying
yeah
like, "I've been on this op way longer than you, and you're doing your own thing again." And it's like that's the theme of a bit of this episode as well. It's like
yeah
Steve is still having that streak in him. Right? He's like, "I'll do my own thing and won't let anybody else in until last minute."
yeah. So like so like right we get to it and yeah, and so we get to this, and so we get to this because obviously, but because obviously Orton's had these contact with because obviously Orton's had this contact with Yates and like Orton's even the sub Ian and Benny's all like Tim Orton and the Hills and Yates and like Orton basically like she's and
Does a good
times.
job in it, doesn't he? Trying to cross it. He's literally like,
Yeah,
and like I said, once again, Martin acts it very well. You can tell this crease. This is incredibly painful to Steve.
yeah, yeah,
And you just think, and but it's a nice little like double cross or double sort of what is it for what happens next? You think, he's just not done it. He's not contacted Gates, and he's
yeah,
just come here to have a go at to hurt Steve, and he's going to go away again.
yeah. And he and he and to be honest, if it's a bad night to be, and it's a bad night to be Steve Arnott because
Well, he's sort of known in the fandom now as he's sort of like the punching bag, Steve.
and because just that he thinks the us is over and he's about to get into his car, eats some oops and our Jackson and our Jackson's Steve's car and or sees him in the back in the back seat being of basically because he's paranoid because he thinks Steve is he thinks Steve is set the back and and back upon Android basic girl who says to even need to fill or shout any back up to the big if uh, and the it's on means equal making there is no backup and like and you basically characterized the person with them to a hand yourself in and a hand yourself in and change your statement and he said and then it's just like that and it's um it's not it's not you guys I'm in from it's the OG basically the
Yeah,
kind
he says I'm a dead man walking, and he
yeah
interestingly says, and so are you, to
yeah
Steve. So I think that also, like in the back of Steve's head, is sort of spurring him on to act the way he is in this episode.
yeah um yeah as and yeah so yeah so yeah so it's like how if so I'll get you or maybe the thing is operations over you me or Friday basic
Yeah, he sort of is like, I know I'm your way too, Tommy, but I'm only doing it because I want some of my life back.
yeah
But I think, which is what we'll get to when we get to the ending, I think he initially does think that when he says it, but there's a moment later on in the episode where he's like, I can't have that. But obviously, we'll get to that near the end.
yeah so and so the and we cut to this and so and we got to the station, and the station's car park, and then we see Hilton have a conversation with him, Orton, and he's basically saying to Orton, how do you feel about sitting with the Tiffin Spirit? I think Sam taking the hour and he can and the hour when we can most because
Yeah, no, and it's
um
sort of
yeah
like you said, it's that Cotton is very quickly going up the ranks, isn't he? Let's just put it that way.
yeah yeah and yeah and he said and yeah and he says to help me with me and now brings a done a very really respect or on on and as a card as a card it will could go off Obama to the open to my my eyes basically and okay now get to that the review.
As you can tell, if we needed a tagline for these streams, it's going to become "We'll get to that later" because there's a lot of little
Yeah,
things, even in this last episode, being set up for later.
yeah, yeah, and I actually, yeah, and I actually forgot to say that you get an appearance from Oz on from the counter-terrorist operation from earlier on in the series, so he's back to help assist and you when came up with an investigation that get and because get as up as a counter and as a counter error investigation.
Yeah, and is that when Steve does that moment I love?
I did, but still, I get on you talking about the bit where and the bit where really says that his things have just had the I know
No,
his things
I'm sure
for
this is because it's when the old boss turns up on the scene, and it's when they're all having a
yeah,
chat in the briefing room, and he
yeah,
just walks in and he overhears a bit of the conversation, doesn't he? And he repeats it back, and he's and in a
yeah,
very sarcastic manner. And then he goes, they're like, "Do you need anything?" He goes, "Oh no, I can wait." And he just sits in the briefing room with like
yeah,
the smuggest look on his face. And I was like, "Yep, that's Steve." Like that's how he would get attention. He would just walk into a room and
yeah,
sit there, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm
and
like,
yeah, and remember he's been and remember he's been given in the yeah, so he decides to try and
oh yeah." So
this
this is
yeah
before. So we've first got the scene with Hastings. Now I'm tracking it.
yeah so yeah so it's the scene of I mean yeah so it's the scene of Hastings and then Hastings says oh how's the do you think you'd be able to specify the killers next to and I think you'll be able to specify them conversion next to case you get your injury and what any can any ask them to do so harder and then and and then and then and then Eve said, I just had to kill. I, 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 and these things just goes and I take you side there.
Yeah, well, like, what does he hit? I was trying to work it out watching it again. I was like, what, did he just like punch the table? He does something.
No, he smashes he pop back onto the
Yeah,
desk.
and it's just that's Hastings. Like, he's just like, because the next line makes me laugh, and he goes, Kate talked to him. The doctor said I can't get my blood pressure up, and walks away. And
Yeah,
it's just funny little lines like that from
yeah.
Hastings.
And yeah, and yeah, and then yeah, and then you can the um it's to the um it's to the fact that you I've had an also he asks her about he asks her about the the extent of having she's oh relationship and she's alright with that person and she's alright you can and she's alright often happy and often happens with Mr. Kill when she says maybe it's either so
Yeah, and
yeah,
she also has the line of, "Oh, he knew by the way because you put somebody on your flat to watch it to protect you." And it's that
yeah,
thing once again of like Steve, he's in there and they're building the little unit and you can see the links, but he still has got that streak in him that he'll do what he wants. So this is another moment of her sort of saying, "Choose your allegiance. It's us or Gates." And it's sort of like, who are you going to play against? Because only one side will really have your back.
yeah. And yeah, and so that's the point where he's get what that's the point where he's getting um and I and and the best I just that he's gonna use it on his old nemesis and Osborne on the music. And the confrontation between him and Osborne was actually one of longest into this episode. Because you see the actor that he does Bond's a pretty good actor, or he's a pretty high profile actor. I can't
Do you actually
remember.
recognise him?
Yeah, and yeah, I can't remember his name, but think he
Did
was in the
in the chat? Matthew put a name in the chat.
yeah,
Owen
I know.
Peel?
Yeah, I think
Who is
that
that?
was
Who you're talking about? This guy. Tell us in the chat if that's who you were referring to.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Becky, because remember in the watch with the episode would you get introduced to these historical into these historical people from a different time period and they fall all through the um and they fall through the rift and that was created and Oceans only televised and series so like
I thought the cannibals was like the countryside episode with the cannibals. Was there never cannibal one?
you get I mean I mean but we're kind of getting confused to to be honest, but the historical I us can't go back into their own time
Yeah,
period.
I
So
can't remember because that's the like
and
you got the
and
Romans in the jail cell, haven't you, and stuff. So is he part of that?
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
portraying you. So
Yeah. So anyway, so anyway, back to the so so yeah so yeah so the rhythm have very heated strange, but Steve kind of also was born and that it's not that it's not and that it's not a counter of the operation and 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 the second he also on because he's adamant that so he basically he thinks it has times has times to do is it so he says I aims upon and then he basically he says it's not the first time on your investigations has been watched basically and why and yeah like he says yellow and um and yellow yeah no and it's not a very good dog and it's not a very good dog it can and es das nächste Weekday Mexico and I can and he says I'm being shot. Am I am I being shot? It's because of you and because of you the and the tried uh, uh, and you try and the possible it me tell I over up here and watch and and then Osborne says easy the and yes yes
yeah, and I think it's very sort of not like he never raises his voice at Steve. It's very controlled, and that's what the actor does really well in that scene. I think it's why it works. He's not bawling, he's not shouting. He's very still and controlled, and he's just sort of very deliberate. And even Steve, yes, he's getting angry, but Steve, I think, is even Steve, he's not being that like shouty really for what Steve can do. So it's sort of you've got this idea of almost these two. If he made me think of like two dogs almost, sort of snarling at each other and just trying to like psych the other one out without being too loud. And they're both sort of snarling, aren't they? And sort of trying to show their teeth.
yeah and yeah and so like he basically he says
Hi, garbage.
and and he basically like as he he's he's the can't use the iron and he can't use the iron eats and then he says and off the and off the he speaks so but and he says hang on and he says um and he says he spins and eats and and eats Mexican and um and then ahead to the OG Mexican army so so this so this is up to the in operation amateur operation, and they kind of join forces with nothing. It's an order to catch and Tommy basically.
Yeah, it's like now they've got it in, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like before Gates, they didn't have an in, and that's what Gates is banking on. That's what Steve's banking on.
Yeah.
But it's sort of also, I think it's quite telling that Steve is basically going out on a limb here, but Hastings goes with him. Kate goes with him, even though they're
Mhm.
reluctant. They do sort of trust in him, and I think a couple of episodes ago that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and yeah, because of even some, and and yeah, because of even some doubts about joining them, I shouldn't like it. He basically only says this even to want to trust and and
Yeah,
basically,
like he's having us on again. He's playing us, and you're falling for it. Is what Kate's view is.
yeah,
But he's the one like, no. And after what happened in that factory in the warehouse, he's like, no, I know, and I think he's reading his desperation. He sees Gates once is basically trapped now utterly, so he sort of is taking advantage almost of that. I think a bit with Gates.
yeah. Yeah, and so we get to meet Omen as episode because if during the previous episodes all the conversations that Omen had been taking place in phones basically. So you get to meet Omen all
Which was fun when when Daniel messaged me saying, "Do we ever get to see Tommy?" And I had to sort of go, "Well, we might." To you,
yeah,
you hadn't seen this episode yet.
um, yeah, and so you get yeah, so we kind of get a wee bit of a standoff between the two, and I sort of steer out to because because unable to and then he sort of on Tuesday Amokni says that that's from and as for a family reason old basically.
Oh yeah, and before that, he's for if people understand, he's got him on a walkie, like some sort of recording device, and Kate and
Yeah,
Steve are listening to the conversation. So like now and again they'll go back, doesn't it, to Kate and Steve in the car,
yeah,
and sort of like they're egging him on because they want Tommy to come out with, yeah, my lads killed or murdered Jackie or did the Greek Lane job. They want just anything properly that they can use because the OG is sort of like this. It's almost like smoke, isn't it? They know it's there, but they've not got anything criminal evidence against them, so they know they can get Tommy to say it on recording. And Gates is constantly like trying to say like, "Oh, you need me," isn't he? So I need your lads to admit to what they've done, so then I can
yeah,
either get them off or almost protect them.
yeah,
And Tommy's like he's Tommy's clever, like as you would say, canny in Scotland. Like he knows.
yeah,
He's constantly like not quite saying enough, and
yeah,
and that there's even a moment, isn't he, when he refers to Arnott, and he goes, "Oh,
yeah,
like how you gave us Arnott."
yeah,
So it's like this constant like cat and mouse, isn't it? While Gates is driving and Tony's
yeah,
in the thing, and it's just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing until he admits, yes, my lads did it, my lads did it, and that's when Gates then he knows he's got what he needs, so he
yeah,
just starts punching him.
Yeah, and can I just say that can I just say all the act was involved in as part of the episode a different aspect job, especially in any James and the actor that probably plays him Armin. He's
Oh,
rough.
you hate Tommy. The actor's perfect. He's slimy, he's
Yeah,
cocky, he's rough. Like he's perfect. The guy who plays Tommy for the part.
yeah. I mean, yeah, but um, but it's um, but um, but he, he says it's he's thinking she's it's he's thinking she's thinking of an odd and odd and odd something Mexican and he says no I'm not I don't know I can still make this
Yeah.
keeps
T.
evil which I found on eBay Mexican
Oh
well
yeah, and it's just sort of he even says to me like, "Do you know how long any police like station has kept me inside?" Like
yeah
he's so sure of his power, isn't he?
yeah
And I think that's also what makes Tommy scary. Like he knows he can just snap his fingers almost, and he'll get away with anything.
yeah and and like Army calls him a bank but
Well, he would always call him that on
yeah
the phone. So,
yeah
and he knows it
yeah
irks Gates because even Gates says to Arnett back in the car, he says, "I'm not Ben,"
yeah
and you can tell that irks him. That now tag almost he's acquired.
yeah mm-hmm.
So Tommy knows that.
I mean, yeah, and when he's in the usual pub, he sort of, he's doing it as he's punching and maybe what's happened, like, what's happened, like, for Anya as well, it's killed, like,
I tell you what,
and
anybody
she did
listening
it,
to you laugh at a lot of violence, Daniel. They're gonna think you're a perfectly well adjusted person. Just heads up.
yeah, well, yeah, well, yeah, Um, again, yeah, well, you know what? You know, like as I said, you know, I'm very sensitive human, and I'm so like and when the final video is it cannot is it cannot make sure that you say that a spirit is a nail in the with and then on the basically it says like on the basically it says to him you can put egg on just on the basically and it says random random yeah
Yeah,
so
and I think Arnett clicks then. I
yeah
think as soon as Gates says that to him,
mhm,
I think Arnett's going, "Oh God, he's got nowhere," and we're on. And
yeah
once you, like I said, it's one of those things I said at the beginning that it's shocking what happens, but if you really think about it,
yeah
there was nothing left for him to sort of rebuild. And
yeah
he was literally like, that's why he says it was in the line of duty. And it's one of the few times where saying the show's title in the show makes sense. And it's
and yeah
he knows, and I think Arnett
yeah
clicks and he goes, "Oh God."
and so he basically next the ants in the middle of them. I was playing this, or he comes on and asked and then hits, which is kind of graphic in itself. I
Well,
wasn't
yeah, at
expecting
least
that
they're
at
not
all.
as graphic. I considering what this show can be like, I think the
Yeah,
way they showed the lorry hitting him, it's not actually that graphic.
yeah,
But I think it's more. I think actually Martin and Kate sell it more with their reactions
yeah,
to seeing it with because they're basically front view, especially Steve is, of him basically doing what he does, Gates.
yeah. And to be honest with you, I thought that Emma, his character was going to that Emma, his character was actually going on his work because
Yeah.
he actually is, and because you see something so often in somebody for was up, if you know what I mean. I thought he was going to. Emma and because as a shot of him and he's almost been walking in the cameras he's in his face and I thought he's going to fiddle walk
But that's
the
Martin's
way he looked.
isn't it? That's
Yeah.
like I said, I think it's not too graphic. Like
Mm-hmm,
you obviously hear it and
mm-hmm,
it's done quite fast, so you don't see a lot of like the blood and all that. There's none of that. But I think a lot of it is based off Martin and Vicky because they just act it, and like I think purposely does because I said Steve was closer to Gates because he was
yeah,
talking, so he gets more of the view of it. And
yeah,
like you said, that's Martin. He honestly does look like he's about to faint or throw up, doesn't he?
yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
and yes, on the next in the parliament, takes he killed he eats his book or he basically killed me and then haste and helping ask and even eating what happened and maybe all that surely said the haste and so and but and them Austin Cherry can see the whole episode what happens because Orton's is can have and can have on top of an army and like and so basic either chatting about actually kill this fan and it's revealed to the and it's revealed to the Orton is armies and can because
sorry, that was mess.
he says if you get any information how to pull it in a and you can't remember sitting watching this for the first time. I'm like, holy shit, that's what that scene and that's what that conversation meant earlier on. So like the penny had dropped, dropped and as he said to me, that I know, like, and yeah, and he says, like and he says the top of basically he did it up his and it basically in the top of did it up his in Al Qaeda as an Al Qaeda operation basically and so you just keep and so you just keep him calm I and after the war and the
Well, he says
tongue
immunity, doesn't
and
he? He
I'm
goes,
making it. Yeah,
keep quiet, but say enough basically so you get immunity.
and yeah,
And then, of course, Tommy comes out with best caddy I ever had.
Yeah.
So then you said then it clicks. He was talking about Tommy when
Yeah.
Osborne said, like, do you want that promotion? And it's
Yeah.
and all I'll say is there's a reason this is dropped in the final episode.
Yeah, when yeah, yeah, so the episode kind of ends with a couple of captions saying that the must have been unsolved and that no officers were and that no officers were actually prosecuted on the for the watched until later investigation at the start of this series and the anti-corruption cases used against Gates and the evidence that Gates had them, or maybe it's also about and he's used to
Yeah,
he
which
can
just sort of gave like his sacrifice. That's what Gates
yeah.
did. Like, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bit of him saving his own back. I'm not gonna, but it was still a sacrifice. So when you see
Yeah.
that come up, you go, oh, we sort of didn't. He sort of died for nothing a bit, Gates.
Yeah.
And Matthew, all I'll say about the cotton thing, that has got a lot of legs. Just stick with it. It's got a lot of legs.
Like, see, I was kind of, see, I was kind of pissed off that they never did go any follow-up to that in the first episode of the next series, because I was kind of sort of, because I was kind of sort of preparing myself for
Well, no,
that, and
no, no,
then
no.
it's,
This is what Line of Duty does. It
yeah,
gives you a bit of a twist or a bit of information.
yeah,
It lets it sit in the background for a while, and then
yeah,
it fully comes to the floor. And Dot
yeah,
is, like I said, there's a reason that it's the stinger for the last episode because a lot of future storylines are gonna happen with Dot.
yeah.
So trust me, that isn't just like a shocking, like, oh look, aren't we brilliant? We've done another reveal. It has legs, and it fully, because like I said,
And to be fair, I'm in agreement with Matthew. I'm going to stick in the
I
course as
for
well
Dot,
and
yes,
British.
do say the course for Dot because
Yeah.
the actor's also like, if you think you thought he was good in this series, you've not fully seen Doc's character yet.
Mhm.
So the
I
actor gets
agree.
better.
Yeah. Um. So shall we just before we get on these, we'll to end the stream. I'll ask the chat to get I'll ask the chat to get out your skills for or episode 5. So out in the chat and also that shall be
I was
seen.
gonna say PG's not here, so we can't tell him off for giving a score when he's not watched.
Yeah, yeah, also that shall we is in the episode of your um, of your word on on in the chat.
Oh, I can say, and if not, if you're what, because apparently notifications didn't go out for this stream, which is nice. So if you're watching this after the fact, we'd love to get your score or a little comment in the comments afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, if you're unable to make, you can, if you're unable to make the because you could have told, not told, color, on, or basic, and you didn't send out the notification. You're right down in the comments when the stream uploads the fact. So as we just wait for the was to come on, shall we? Well, on the Jets of episode 5.
I'm going to a 10. I gave it 9.5 last week, saying it's really good. Like there's a lot of stuff I really liked in that episode, but it's just getting ready to like explode, and this is the explosion. This episode, and I think Matthew, was it Matthew who said it's impressive how much, pretty much not a single cast member of the main cast. Everybody has something to do, and I think that's really impressive as well. Like nobody feels really wasted.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I got probably about a two. And, and they give me fantastic conclusion to the episode. I'm still kind of pissed off the episode. And the first episode of the series didn't actually all work in this episode. It's kind of still pissed me off. I mean, in the first episode of the second series is a pretty solid episode, but I was just annoyed that I never got any clear.
Yeah, get used to having to wait with this show for certain payoffs.
I'm not, I'm not a patient man, as you know.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, Daniel, this show might teach you some. It might teach you a bit of patience.
Yeah. Yeah. So just yeah. So just before we finish up, you see some of the comments there. 9 out of 10. What would what would give it the full bang in the chat? But went to I mean to the ones that are kinda unable to make it tonight, whoever watches after the fact um like I was just swore in the comments down below in the episode properly uploads on the channel. So before so but if we finish up, Charlotte, whose channel are you going to be on during the week?
Oh, I last week I was on the Spacebook, Dan, where we talked about the current fallout and the hilarious mess of the annual, and then a bit about Amy Pond, because as you guys know, I adore Matt Serra. So I talked a bit about Amy because I quite like Amy as well. And then on Saturday, it's going to be Classic Who, and that's what I know I can tell you guys. Like I said, I pop up where people want me.
Yeah. And yeah, and what Timmy mentioned, Charlotte, we're on Captain.
I was going to say, you can do that because you usually like to do Cockney.
Yeah, and we're on Captain Cockney Sport. And tomorrow night at 9 p.m. We'll be chatting theology and Zulu Zulu on the on on study. So yeah, that'll
be an interesting time as always with Cockney.
Yeah, so so I'll be interesting and I'll put up.
Oh, and yes, Script Doctor around August, because that's when they'll be doing New Who, so I can stay longer. So I can't, so I don't have to say I can be there for about an hour and a bit. So, because that's New Who, and the setup, hopefully the iPad should work a lot better so I don't have a massive lag, which would be fun.
Yeah, right, so in terms of the next episode, obviously, because we're going into series 2, we kind of, so we kind of leave it for a week or so and then jump back in and then and carry on and start series and, and start series 2. So we'll, and so we'll see you in about 2 weeks. I'm so thank you. There's not much to add here. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and check to see if you're
Yes,
still
actually, check.
subscribed, and check to see if you get any notifications because YouTuber can eat color.
They decided they don't like Daniel at the moment because
Yeah,
they've taken subs from him and now they're not putting notifications out. So please check because YouTube don't
yeah.
like us.
And don't forget if you watch the stream, you and don't forget if you watch the stream after to leave a comment, have a score for the episode, and like as if you're looking forward to discussing series and
Series
and
2 will be interesting because, as Daniel was sort of a bit surprised, I didn't prime him. It's a completely different story. So it's like I said, that there will be callbacks, there will be links, but it's a different story. So it'd be fun to see what you guys think as well.
yeah, so see you soon, guys. So like, share, and subscribe and comment and comment after the show, and I'll see some of you on Captain the Spock. Me and Charlotte will be joining Peter and Auckland and possibly or as well. But until tomorrow night, guys, and stay safe, and we'll see you back in this channel in weeks time.
Have night all. Have fun.